All right, YouTube, we're going to get back to cracking on my 1978 Corvette and get this motor put back together. Welcome to KP Racing. My name is Keith, and today we are going to work on getting the heads back on this car. Oops, as you can see behind me, they are not on the vehicle. They were on the vehicle, and they had to be removed because I put my initial intentions on this car was going to be to turbo it. So I put MLS head gaskets on it, and they didn't seal up very good. They were leaking water along the bottom edge of the head gasket, and when I pulled the heads off, they were actually leaking down into the cylinder. So the thing I learned with the MLS gasket is both of your surfaces have to be extremely, extremely straight. And I know my heads were redone, but the block has not been. It's still the original block. It's never been out of the car, so it has not been decked or whatever you would want to call it. So I had to pull the heads back off. So I went and I picked up a cheap gasket set there of just basic Fel-Pro composite gaskets. We're going to put some copper spray on them bad boys, get them nice and tacky, slap these heads back on, get that intake manifold back on. I got the oil pan back on it, and we're going to fire this thing up. Hopefully, maybe not in this video, because I got a lot of shit to go over today on it, but probably tomorrow I plan on firing this car up and getting the cam broken in. So this is a hydraulic flat tappet cam, which means you have to break it in. You got to make sure that it's all broken in properly, which involves firing the car up and pretty much immediately after you start it, taking it up to about 2,500 RPMs for 10 minutes straight, taking it up to 2,800 RPMs for another 10 minutes, dropping it down to 2,000 RPMs for the final 10 minutes. Then after that 30-minute period, you're considered to be completely broken in, and we're going to beat the shit out of it and do some burnouts. So as long as all goes as planned, that's the plan. So let's get cracking on getting these heads back on there. I'm going to copper spray these gaskets. I'll kind of give you a quick idea of how I do that. And this is nowhere near a how-to video. This is just more a watch me fuck this thing up video. All right, so here's what we're working with. We got a L82 block, which is actually a pretty decent block. This is a 4-bolt main. It would have forged crank and forged pistons. So it's a nice little bottom end that you can really put a lot of beating on without having to worry about it. This block only has, I think this car has like 40-some thousand miles on it. It's original from 1978. It does run great. I did compression tests on it. It was like 190 across every cylinder. Very, very strong. So I have no issues with rebuilding her here, putting some nicer heads on it. Don't make fun of me for where I'm storing all my parts at. I literally just ripped these off the other day. But these are a set of very heavily ported race heads with some 202 stainless intake valves, some 1.6 exhaust valves, 7/16 studs, 1.5 springs. I mean, these things were built for a drag racing car, and they can take some beating. So they should really make this car run good. I put a Lunati bootlegger cam in here. It's nothing too crazy. It's nowhere near what those heads could handle. But I just wanted a nice, good running, decent sounding, reliable build here. That's what I was going for. So let's get this thing, let's get these head gaskets sprayed with some copper spray. We got that right here. I use this on all my composite gaskets. It just helps. It helps fill in any imperfections in the block. It just gets everything to seal up a lot better. So we're going to coat both sides of the gasket with this. We're going to let it sit for a little bit till it gets kind of tacky. And then we're going to go ahead and slap those gaskets on here, get these heads dropped on, and start getting them torqued down. So I got some ARP bolts that I'm using on it. That was the last thing I had to wait for today was actually, where did I put it? I don't even know if I brought it down. I had to get some, there it is. Some of this, this came with the bolts when I bought it, but I used it all up whenever I put the bolts in, and now I had to go order another tube of it. So this is the ARP stud fastener assembly lubricant. This is very important. You want to make sure that you use this stuff, because when you're really torquing down them bolts with the washers, you want to make sure that they don't twist or anything. You can cause cracking in your block and whatnot if you don't use this stuff properly. So this does, it's one of the things that some people maybe laugh at or whatever, but I would definitely use this on any time I'm putting ARP studs in or bolts in, just to make sure, man. That's just one of those little cover your ass things. For like 15 bucks, it's worth it. It's a very, very shitty day here in Pittsburgh. which is not normal for us this year. This year it's been extremely sunny and hot almost every single day, so we could definitely needed some rain, but this is my usual setup for spraying these head gaskets. I'll just hang them off of a ladder like this. You want to make sure that you get this copper spray shaken up really, really good, and you want to get good even coats on these head gaskets all the way around. Do a coat, let it sit until it gets a little tacky, 5-10 minutes, do another coat on it. I just sit here and keep shaking this thing up, getting it ready. And then we'll let them sit for like 20 or so, and then we'll get them slapped on the car and get them moving. All right, so we got one coat on there, both front and back. And you know what I'm actually gonna do? I'm gonna wait to do the other one, unlike times in the past where I just do them both at the same time, until I'm ready to do it. So you can kind of get an idea of the difference there. Copper, no copper. Copper, no copper. All right, there we are. Set in there. This side is ready for a head to go on. Let's slap it on there. So two things we have to do with each one of these bolts. We got to put some of this ARP fastener assembly lube underneath the heads here for whenever they get torqued down. And then we got to take some black RTV and put it on the threads, because these bolts go into water jackets and they need to be sealed up around the threads, or else you will get leaks. The antifreeze will push up past these threads. So, and then easy way to remember, all these short ones always go along the bottom edge of the small block here. The two medium-sized bolts go in these two outside holes, and then all the rest of the long bolts go across the middle here. So, and you can kind of see why, because these bolts sit a little bit more recessed than all the rest of these. So that's where those medium ones go. And like I said, all the shorties on the bottom. Let's get them in there. Talk about a good workout on a nice, hot, humid day. Torquing down all those head bolts. Let's take a look at them. Well, there they are. They are back in there. Everything torqued down to spec. I'm gonna do one last clean out of the lifter valley, and then we'll pop that intake manifold back on there. All right, so we're back together. Heads are back on. Intake manifold is back on. I gotta tighten it up here. I always like to, if I'm not gonna be starting it right away, I try not to always have to start everything right away. I put RTV on the front and the back walls, and I tightened them up, snugged them. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit, maybe like an hour or so, and then I'll tighten that thing down all the way, just to do it the proper, I guess, way you would say. I gotta adjust my valves. So this is a hydraulic flat tappet cam. So the first time I run this thing, it's got to be ready to go. It's got to be ready to be broken in. And it's got to be able to run for 30 minutes straight without any real issues. So how I'm going to set these valves, I'm going to spin the valve in my hand, and I'm going to tighten up the preload until the valve stops spinning in my hand. Okay. I'm going to do that on every valve. I'm going to turn the motor like 90 degrees. I'm going to come back. I'm going to check them all, see if any are tight or loose. Any ones that are loose, I'm going to do the same thing, tighten them up until they stop spinning. Go all the way around, turn the motor like 90 degrees, check them all again, tighten the ones that are loose, go around again 90 degrees. I'm going to do that like 2 or 3 full revolutions of the crank, and we should be at least in the ballpark of being able to run and get the cam broken in. And then from there, if I got to pull the valve covers and adjust them while it's running, it won't be that big of a deal. It has been a couple days, and I'm back at it. I did get all the valves tight. Well, I had all the valves tightened. I untightened them. I primed the motor by spinning my prime tool there while spinning the motor over a little bit, and that all looks good. So then I got all the valve covers on. I got all the valves adjusted and tightened, and I got the stock manifolds back on to get ready for the break-in. So I think I'm kind of like there. I'm trying to think of what else I need. I'm going to take the carb off my truck and use that because I know it's a good running carb, so there's no questions there. I got to put the distributor in. I got wires. I need plugs. I guess I got to go buy plugs. And I think that's it. And I think I'm ready to start it up. I got to put the downpipes on, but that'll only take a minute. It'll be real easy to put in, so I'll see you in a few. Oh, and I got to wire up the fans for the new radiator. But for the break-in, I'm just gonna wire those up to a switch and just be able to turn them on myself, just so that I know that they're working and I don't want to have to rely on like the thing kicking on during the break-in. I just want everything to go as smooth as possible, so that's how we're gonna do that. I just pulled her out of the garage, man. It's been close to a year that's been in the garage. It's filthy. Cat paw prints all over it and dirt, and I'm very excited to fire it up here. Hopefully this cam breaks in good and we're rolling. The only thing I got to do is I'm going to take the carburetor off my truck, just because I know it runs good and it's ready to go. I'm going to put that on here just to do the break-in. So let's swap the carb over, and then we're waiting for my buddy Chris to get here so I have an extra set of eyes and hands, and we're going to fire it up. All right, cam break-in was a success. She is running, she's idling, sounding good, burning a little bit of oil off. The breather was leaking, I had to put a new gasket on it. But other than that, I still gotta put the side pipes on. They tell you not to break it in on the new side pipes. You should break it in on the stock, on old exhaust. So I put the old manifold on, and it's literally just the old manifold and a dump pipe that ends like right there. So sounds pretty good. Smoke's starting to clear up. Not too shabby. Well, after a couple long fought days, we're pretty much back together. Motor's running good. No issues. Cam break-in seemed to have gone okay. Doing a little bit of tuning on the carb to get that all put together and running right. But honestly, overall, running pretty good. Not too happy with these valve covers. These breathers that they had put on them before leak a little bit of oil, and the valve covers themselves leak a little bit of oil. I got cork gaskets on there. I think I'm gonna have to go get rubber gaskets, something that seals up a little bit tighter, so because I feel like it's just soaking through the cork. But it's weird the way these heads are made. They got very big intake, or not intake, valve springs on them. I think they're like 155s or something like that, and the oil runs off the end of the top of the spring, and it actually comes like right down on the bottom. It doesn't really drip back down into the head. It drips right down into the valve cover, so it runs down and soaks that cork gasket, and then you can kind of see how it's seeping through just a little bit there on the top edge of those headers. But the Doug side pipes, whew, not that bad of an install either, man. I gotta tell you, I did them on the in the driveway here. I just had to jack the front end up pretty high to get the driver's side up in there, but nothing that, you know, a regular jack can't handle. I mean, definitely a driveway install, a couple of guys, couple hours type of a deal. So happy with that, and we'll get you set up here and we'll do a cold start. I definitely have to put inserts in the mufflers. This motor's just not built enough to support open headers like that, so I'm gonna have to order a set of the Doug's inserts for the mufflers. So kind of sucks. The only thing that really sucks, honestly, I don't care about putting them in or the price of them. I mainly care about, I got to take the rocker molding back off, and I got to take the side pipe off, the back half of the side pipe. And getting that side pipe off is a bitch, man. The mounts were just not that great. So it was a bitch getting it on there. I got it on there, but it was definitely a pain in the ass. So I think I'm going to make some altercations to or modifications to the bolts that will help make it go back in a little bit easier. So, but let's get you set up on a tripod. Let's give this motherfucker a start. So I gotta admit, pretty happy. Pretty happy with the sound, definitely happy with the look, man. I have wanted side pipes since the minute I got this car. I just feel like the C3 Corvette is one of those few cars where side pipes are almost like a must-have. So that's about it for now. I think I'll make a video here soon of getting those mufflers put in the side pipes and maybe cleaning up a little bit underneath the hood. But other than that, we're gonna start driving it.